What up, everybody? You are back in tune with another episode of In the Fields podcast. It is your host, Johnny, with my lovely wife, Lisa. And we're here with a special episode, guys. We're going to start today's episode with a segment you guys are probably familiar with, which is Film of the Fields. And we have to give it to the Diddy documentary that is going crazy right now on Netflix. Shout out to 50 Cent, a.k.a. Curtis Jackson. Yeah, man. This documentary has definitely caused an outrage, amongst the culture and, just the world. It's definitely something that I feel like everybody is seeing and, not just realizing, like, the crazy things that happen within the industry, but I mean, even on just like a smaller scale of like, things that happen, with regular daily lives of people. Like, some people go through those things where they stay in toxic relationships because, it's familiar to them, or sometimes like some people don't have a way out. And I think that's what we want to get into this entire episode, is really to just talk about the traumatic emotional side of things, as much as we want to sit here and be like, I knew it, or discuss like, all these conspiracy theories. I think the biggest thing is just to really take a deep dive into how, even us as regular people experience things, just because like, just because we see, Diddy on this high platform and, we see the people that, are involved are, high end or, high caliber people. Like the stuff that they go through happens to regular people
all the time,
where we're stuck in relationships we have a hard time getting out of, or, partaking in things that, maybe our partners make feel safe to us and aren't necessarily safe, or things that, aren't good for us. And I mean, I've seen it across the industry, not just with like Diddy and Cassie, you know what I mean? Like you see other relationships that may have not necessarily been, the best relationships. Like the first one I think of right away is like Future and Sierra. Like when they were together, like Sierra seemed to be like kind of at her lower point, versus like once she got with Russell, it was like a different her, a different version, So I feel like it's definitely something we want to discuss. Again, Film of the Fields has got to go to that documentary. I know us watching it, we were,
Well, a big thing for me was when the case first started. I remember seeing like teasers that there was going to be a documentary coming out, and I'm like, oh, that was really fast. Like it's weird that like somebody's on it immediately. So when this came out, especially because of how much 50 has been going off on social media since the start of this entire thing. So for me, like when he got, and then honestly, like even in his interview though too, it was him like expressing like it's not just because of any hatred people think I have for Diddy or whatever the case is, but it's more so to give the victims a voice. Because it did seem like throughout the case that a lot was dismissed and a lot of it's still open pending cases and stuff, like having to do all these investigations on all these claims that people are opening up. But again, we can clearly see within the documentary the power, the money, the fame, how all of that plays a part in what he's been able to get away with.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So it's like, even now, I'm sure people are like kind of nervous that like even all these pending open cases are going to just go dismissed because he's already been able to get away with so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day too, I want to pick up on what 50 said about it not just necessarily being him just trying to like bully people or nothing, but I think it's a matter of ensuring that somebody who has done bad things is no longer allowed to benefit from the culture. And when I say the culture, I just mean like the hip hop culture. You know what I mean? Like that entire industry. Like Diddy has had hands in on every part of the culture, whether it was music, whether it was fashion, whether it was, anything along those lines, alcohol, like, you know what I mean? Like the Ciroc culture, the music culture, the fashion culture, like he's had hands in on all of it. So it's like, you know, when you have somebody who has access and influence the way that Diddy does, like it is important to remove them from that level of power. At the very least, that's what I think 50's doing with the documentary is that, you know, we don't want bad people in high places.
Hmm.
I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's presidency. I don't care if it's my job, my boss. I don't care if it's teachers in school.
A lot of
I
people
don't
take
care. I don't care
advantage.
what level of authority or what rank, or what industry this is. I don't want bad people in high places. Period. So it's like I think that's like the one thing I will give to 50 is that, you know, let's say the documentary doesn't completely destroy Diddy. I think it shows enough of the type of person he is to dismantle the credibility that he built for himself through the deceit and whatever occurred, allegedly.
I like how
So,
far back he went to. Like, he got people from, like, knowing him as a younger person and, like, as a child, the things that he experienced, because we've talked about it plenty of times about how, like, our childhood helps form and shape us. Like, traumatic things that we've seen or been around or been in, how that can ultimately affect us as the adults that we grow into if we're not taking accountability and healing from those things or really paying attention to the wrong in what we seen or what we experienced and not, you know what I mean? Like, it touches on that too of like breaking it down, like, okay, like him, the way he grew up and the things that he's seen, because people were saying on the documentary that like he wasn't one to do drugs or drink alcohol or do any of that stuff. But then looking at him now, like all the partying he did, all the drugs he got involved in,
the
and
freak offs.
all of that. And it's like, where does that switch happen? You know what I mean? I
7.
can't.
Sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to see, like, in real time how that stuff really can affect somebody and
Yeah.
you can see the downfall.
And I think too, like, with that industry, like we see that as a common theme within, not so much. I mean, granted, you do see it within the music industry, period. I don't want to just label it as hip hop or the culture because, I mean, there's plenty of rock stars who have been like, oh, yeah, man, drugs and all that shit were like my downfall.
Ozzy
You know what I
Osbourne,
mean?
all of
So
them.
I think you see this as a reoccurring theme a lot within the industry where, you get somebody who maybe wasn't doing that, then they got in, and then when they finally blew up, it kind of was like their detriment, When they finally had access to everything and had power, it's like it ended up becoming their biggest kryptonite or the killer, the fame and the power was really what kills them.
I think the saddest thing for me, though, is like people that want to become famous and stuff. I think it starts out as they're just chasing a dream of something they actually love doing. Like you, for example, you love making music. You know what I mean? So I'm sure most of those people started out with the same, just I love doing this and I want to do this for the rest of my life. But then once they get into that thing, a lot of them, the power gets to their head. And it's crazy because all the people they talk about that were unalived and all of this stuff, it looks like from the outside, just looking at it, it seems very gang related. You know what I mean? Like the way that it breaks down of like the whole situation and the occurrences. There's money, there's drugs, there's violence, like there's all of that. And it's like, why would you work so hard to put yourself in a position of doing something that you wanted and you love doing just to corrupt it or put it at risk because for whatever reason you feel like you have to do all this other stuff that you know is wrong. Like it's crazy to me when
Yeah.
you see it from that perspective.
Yeah, and again, I think that's just a super common theme within the industry is like you're seeing again, you see people who are subjected to drugs and environments that they don't necessarily align with, and it ends up becoming it either breaks them or it becomes something that they don't allow to break them. So like, you know what I mean? Like J. Cole, for example, like you don't ever really hear stories about him like that.
No,
And
because
you
he
know why?
stays out the
Because
way.
he don't even really drink like that. Like he'll go to the club, like he don't really drink, he don't smoke weed like that. When he goes out to perform or has a show and gets booked and all that shit, like he be in the
Hmm.
section just drinking water, drinking juice.
Yeah.
Like he don't really be in the mix, if you will. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
At least from what we know, it's not publicized. It's not something we're seeing. Like, you know,
But then there's plenty of people on the flip side that say that people in power try to basically blackball them or whatever
mhm.
because of not wanting to participate in those things too. So then it's like you're also questioning like, oh, my career is at risk
Yeah,
then
like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
because I don't want to participate in freak offs. I don't want to participate in doing all X, Y, and Z. So now I'm a nobody now because and it's like that power of like persuasion of like, well, if you're not going to do this, then I'm not promoting your album. I'm not. And it's like it's fucked up.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why a lot of people, even in the music industry now, like I think that's why you see this big overflow or this big desire for independence within the industry. Not only because of, you know, not even just on a monetary standpoint where like, you know, obviously if you're independent, you that's your bread. Your money is your money. Your control is your control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's too just not wanting to be under somebody else's thumb and not wanting to be controlled and dictated by somebody else, or you know, you needing to wait for the green light from somebody else. Like when you're independent, you have the ability to just move at your own pace and you have the ability to create what it is you want to create without anybody determining or dictating, you know, any type of creative direction. And I think that's why we see a lot of this influx of independent artists now
Well, and
because
there's way more room for it now with social media and the way that you can put out your own shit. Before, back in the day, it's like you had to take a cassette tape or some shit to a studio and be like, please listen to this.
yeah, or people were selling CDs out of their trunks, or
Like,
you know what I mean?
it was a way different
But I
time.
think it's just scary too. Like, yeah, like we have the oh, sorry. We've got the monetary side of things, but we also it's like again, it's the whole like you got to sign your soul away. Like people don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I never really thought that it was always like some actual spiritual agreement. I just figured that like, you know, when you sign your soul away, like people were saying that as a means of like, bro,
You're giving
you're
somebody
giving
all the
up
power.
what you're putting into your music and what makes your music your music. You're giving up that ability, the ability to put 100% of you in your stuff, because
Now you have to go based off of
now
what all these motherfuckers are telling you
you've
to
got
do.
all these other people who might say, yeah, but 100% of you isn't what sells. We need to do what
We need to
sells.
alter everything to make you.
Right, we love the way you look and your
Hmm.
sound, but like the stuff you say and we wish you would talk more about these brands.
We
And
got to tweak that a little bit.
you know, they start pushing certain things and certain narratives upon you, you know, and I think that's super scary. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
man, that documentary, dude, that thing, I definitely takes film in the fields for sure. And I think it's something
it
that
was
just,
kind of hard to watch.
well, yeah, when you start to hear, I mean, when you hear anything about sexual assault in any way, shape, or form, I think that makes everybody uncomfortable. You'd have to be a complete weirdo to be just like totally comfortable with
I
discussing
think
that openly.
I think what upset me the most though is the people that did speak out on this documentary of like their experiences and then seeing people like talk shit saying like, "Oh, now you want to speak up," or like discrediting it in a way because of how it's being displayed, but it's like you don't understand until you've experienced it yourself. Like we see plenty of times where people don't come out until years after the fact. Like some people don't know how to talk about it. It's the same way when kids get molested and they don't know how, because they might say something to a parent and it gets dismissed because it's not believed. So then you kind of burrow in and you don't speak on it because you're like, nobody's going to believe me anyway. So it's like, regardless if they're speaking now or if they spoke 10 years ago, a lot of the time it goes unnoticed because they're like, there's no way. That didn't happen. You're making it up. You just want money. Like there's always some type of, you know, argument against it. So like I understand too why some people choose to not speak up.
Well, I think too what's tough, especially with that whole shit, and we'll talk furthermore about it after we come back to our episode. But I think the biggest thing too that makes it so difficult to believe is, unfortunately, when it comes to that, there's also the flip side, right? Which is, how many women have faked that happened to destroy people?
Oh, for sure.
So it's
so
like
fucked.
what comes to my brain right away is like that one kid who was in college. He was a Division I football player,
Okay.
and he was projected to be a #1 draft. Like he was about to be in the next NFL draft. Some girl accused him of rape, went to court, got sent to jail, lost his ability to get drafted in the NFL, all for her to come out later to say that it never actually happened. And that ruined his entire future.
Well, I know that's
No
what
longer,
started.
he's not in the NFL. He's not playing college football anymore. I don't even know where this kid is anymore. But I promise you he's not in the NFL. But it's like, that's my thing, is that like, yo, like, some people have used this as a way to destroy people. And because because us as a society, you know, naturally, like, I feel like we used to be very much more protective of women.
Yeah.
And I think because of those bad apples that have used the damsel in distress card.
Well, isn't that illegal now to falsely accuse somebody of something like that?
I mean,
because if it comes out
should
that
be.
you were lying, then
It should be illegal. I don't think anything happened to that lady that
Mm-hmm.
fucking accused this kid and ruined his fucking life.
Yeah, like it's the
I mean,
same,
he should be able to sue. He should be able to sue for pain and suffering and
like
long-term
defamation
damages.
of character and
Should
shit.
be able to
like,
sue for all of that. But it's like, again, it's like, you know, it's
hard.
It's hard because of, and it's not just women it's not just women, but just people in general. Like, you know, it's like the little boy who cried wolf, yo. Like, if you gonna sit here and cry wolf and then we show up to be at your fucking defense and it's like, ain't no fucking wolf around, then it's hard. But then also, you know, on the other side, it's when it comes to these high figure people, you know, them being in such a position of power makes it hard for
like,
people
look
to
at
look at them.
Cosby and R. Kelly, they finally got charged for the things that they did actually do.
With the chicken and the noodles and the with the
So,
pudding pops.
Like, it's crazy and it's fucked up because, like, with all those variables, like, you're right. And I think with this case starting and him being under investigation kind of was the catalyst to give people the voice of, like, now I can finally say something. Now I can tell my truth.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard, too, especially when you know that, like, Diddy allegedly got people murdered that he didn't want around anymore. Or, like, allegedly blew up Kid Cudi's car. So it's like, when you see, right, when you're on Diddy's side, right, and you're getting, you know, assaulted in whatever way, shape, or form, but you're on Diddy's side and you're seeing all the strings he's pulling, bro, that's really hard to want to open up and talk about.
That shit's scary. Like, especially if, like, all that shit 100% did happen and people knew about it and seen it. I for one, would probably been scared to say anything because I'm like, I don't want to be next.
Facts.
Like, you ain't off at me. I'm going to just play my role and try to get out when I could get out. Like,
Yeah, man, that's
It's
tough. But
crazy.
again, guys, film of the feels for this week for sure. It's got to be the Diddy doc on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, make sure you guys go check it out. Um, and yeah, it's not easy to watch. It's definitely something that if you are somebody who has been subjected to that type of assault in any way, shape, or
It
form,
could definitely be
it's
triggering.
definitely going to be triggering. I mean, even for me as just a male who is very like protective of the women in my life, that is very it was a little hard to watch and a little like kind of disappointing,
It's
disappointing to know that there's men out there like that. And it's unfortunate, and we will say that you guys should always speak up. Speak your truth, be honest, seek help, and protect yourselves at all costs,
yeah.
because your body is your temple, and you only get one life here on this earth. You know what I mean? You only get this is it. So take care of it. You know, reach out to your village,
Watch
and
out for the ones you love.
yeah, and yeah, keep an eye. Don't let what you might consider love be the peaky blinders that stop you from seeing the signs and prevent you from making the choices you need to make to
Love isn't supposed to hurt. It's not. And if you're being hurt, try to find a way to get safety, cuz it's not okay.
facts. Well, before we get further into our episode, let's give them a word from our sponsors. You guys already know the vibes, baby. Ooh la laid, the best lemonade, and not only in the Lehigh Valley, not only in the 610, not only in the Pennsylvania or Northeast hemisphere of the United States, but the entire world. Yes,
Yum.
guys, it is so good. I mean, it
Mm-mm-mm.
is the best
Delicious.
lemonade. It is the only drink sponsor for In the Fields podcast, because once again, baby, you can feel the love when you drink this lemonade coursing through your blood the second you sip it. Made with all natural ingredients, made with love. Like I said, that's probably one of the most important ingredients, and all natural as well.
Yep.
Again, guys, it is made here locally. The fruits
So
are
good.
sourced locally as well, and yeah, man, just amazing, just an amazing product in general. So happy to have you guys as a sponsor. Make sure you guys go follow them on Instagram at Ula_Laid. Once again, that's Ula_Laid. And tell them that Johnny and Lisa sent you, because, yeah, they're the best. And we love them so much. And we hope you guys get yours
Love you
today.
guys.
Other than that, man, back to our episode. And we are back with a special episode of In the Fields podcast. We are taking a deep dive into the whole Diddy. I don't even know how else to
The
describe that.
whole
Just the
Diddy.
whole Diddy thing, man. It's just the only way I can describe it. But, we're not really here to be dissecting every single allegation or anything like that. I really want to just focus on, the overall feels of it, and how, relationships can turn from this loving thing into control, and, how it can go from something that seems to be so sweet to something that has a darker side. And
Mhm.
that's kind of one of the biggest takeaways for me from everything, was just, you know, things that we can see so brightly from the outside, from the inside can be so dark, and, oftentimes can be misleading, and, what we might see as a great opportunity for someone, when they're in it, could be something that is so painful and so triggering. And,
Yeah.
I know for me, I mean, the biggest thing that I saw was, the whole Cassie situation. And it sucks to see that, from an artist standpoint, just somebody who had so much potential to be great, and to get shelved and not really given the opportunity.
Well, the biggest thing for me, and it was a common theme that I noticed, especially like throughout the trial, because like I stayed heavily invested throughout the entire investigation, throughout his trial, and then this documentary, and even reading some of Kim Porter's book. Like a lot of the time, they were younger girls, 18, 19, 20 maybe, and he was so much older than them. And we hear about it all the time, like in movies or like even in real life situations about, predatorial things where younger girls are groomed and molded and all these things. And we see that it's not, when you go through something like that, that's what you end up just knowing. And it is hard to walk away from that. And like one of the biggest things with Cassie is she was so young. And I'm pretty sure, from what I've seen and what I've heard, is that when she was signed to Bad Boy, she was promised a 10-album deal. And a lot of people that had spoke on that was just like, we've never heard of that. Like nobody's been offered that. But for whatever reason, Cassie was. She did that one first album, and then she even spoke about it during the trial about how like afterwards, when she wanted to continue working, it kept getting pushed off. It kept getting put on the back burner. There was always something else that came up, or Diddy always had an excuse as to why they couldn't record or whatever the case was. And she stuck around because there were moments where he was nice and he was sweet, but the majority of time he wasn't. And that's very confusing, especially for a young female who, fresh out of high school or something, like barely experienced life or relationships to begin with. This is the first real relationship you're kind of in, and this is the direction that it's taken, and you're just so focused on wanting to make it and make your music and live the life that you dreamed of your whole life.
Well, her manager supposedly too at first, before she even signed to Diddy, was it Ryan Leslie? And that was like her boyfriend as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
So she was in a relationship, but I think again, with power, and the fact that your entire career is now in Diddy's hands is like.
But when you're promised something and that's your dream, like you want that so badly, and they're like, yeah, I can give that to you. And out of all people, it's Bad Boy, who he was the biggest fucking Mongol in music industry back in that time.
Mogul.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mongol is like Genghis Khan, like the dudes who like fucking the dude. You remember the show we were watching, the freaking the samurai, the last samurai standing or some shit? Okay, the one dude who just kept killing random people.
I mean, that could also...
That's a Mongol,
That could also fit suit, okay?
Allegedly. So, yeah.
I was like half right.
But yeah, no, you're totally right. Diddy was definitely one of the biggest names in hip-hop. I mean, if not...
Which, when I was younger, I didn't even realize that. Like, and it's also crazy for me because when I was younger, I really liked Diddy. Like, I liked a lot of his music. I liked a lot of the bands and groups that he put together. Like, I loved his clothing line. Like, there was so much that, like I remember...
I had a Ciroc phase at one point as well.
I remember being 12 and my grandparents taking me to New York and being in Times Square, and he was in the fucking MTV...
You're talking about TRL.
Yes, and he was in the window, and I was like,
with,
oh
Carson
my
Daly.
God, it's P. Diddy. And then my grandfather obviously was making fun. He's like, oh, that's P. Doodle, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I remember that, and now seeing all this shit unfold, to me, it's like, no way. Like, somebody that I idolized or really liked is this corrupt of a person. And all this crazy bad stuff that was happening that he had hands in, and we were just so oblivious to it and had no idea.
Again, I think us as a society, we make tough decisions on how we penalize people who are in power. And oftentimes I feel we, again, have like these peaky blinders when it comes to certain people. Like, I don't want to say that talent outweighs morals, but sometimes people will be like R. Kelly, for example. Like, bro, we been known R. Kelly doing weird, like, I feel like people been knew about that. And like for a minute, people were just like, yo, but he's nice though. Like, You listen to this guy sing, bro.
But a lot of the time too with that, like with what we were hearing, there was no actual proof. So a lot of the time people are like, that's hearsay. Those are just
But it's
rumors.
it's all hearsay.
They just want money.
But that's what they did with Diddy for mad long too. I mean,
Yeah.
Diddy is like
That's why I'm like, it's so fucked.
But that's what I'm saying. It was all hearsay until it's like, yo, like at what point are, because the thing is
when
that,
do we really investigate this
because
shit?
again, and this is what I mean by when I say like people in power, we look at them like, no, it couldn't be.
There's no
because
way.
like, for example, like I was just saying earlier in the episode when I was talking about that guy who got accused of rape, who was about to be in the industry, who was about to be a D1 football player, dude, he got accused of rape. No proof. No rape test done on this girl to show if she was assaulted, and nothing. Just because she said they sent him to jail. So it's like, but because he's not fucking P. Diddy and he's not famous and because he's not a fucking culturally impactful, influencing person, we're going to believe her and fucking ruin his life.
Yeah.
But when it comes to these people in power, it's like, you know.
The same standard doesn't apply.
Exactly. We don't treat them the same way. We treat them.
With them, they're like, you need physical proof.
We actually treat them the correct way. It's actually funny because we treat them as if, again, the law is you are innocent until proven guilty. But the common man, when they're accused of rape or something like that, is not subjected to that same law. They're fucking, what? This girl's crying. You must have done it. Like, that's how we fucking treat it.
You're going to jail until we can prove you innocent.
Exactly. It's almost like the other way around sometimes.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know what? We're going to publicize this and make this your theme. So now, even if it's not true, we've already discredited.
This is what you know you're known for.
Yeah,
now.
you're known for the guy who got accused of rape. So it's like, again, we're like subjecting the common man to such a fucking shitty way of law versus like with these people in power. Again, we're almost treating them fairly because, again, you are innocent until proven guilty. Granted, bro, and you got 100 fucking cases and 100 people who are fucking like, yo, like one person, okay, two, 3,
well, like I said,
100, okay.
Well, like I said, I think this whole case in general was the catalyst to give people a way of like, now's my opportunity to finally say something.
But it just sucks that it's like it takes 100 and something people.
Because even
like it sucks that we have to get to a point with these people in power that we have to put together a fucking documentary, which is, again, I applaud 50 for that because, like you said in his interview, it wasn't so much that he's trying to bully P. Diddy because he could have done that a million other ways. That's the thing. Like 50 could have bullied Diddy on the music side of shit the same way he bullied Ja Rule. Yeah.
He's so petty. I can't.
Like, cause I remember him talking about it. He's like, yeah, I saw this Ja Rule concert.
$15 a ticket.
So I bought all the front row seats.
He's such a bully.
I'm just trying to be supportive.
He's so funny.
So it's like, you know, it just sucks because it sucks when when you're with somebody who, again, is in a position of power, but it even not even so necessarily, not even so much like the Diddy Cassie thing, but it even happens on like a smaller scale. Like I feel like, you know, for some women, like, you know, they're stuck in relationships because their husband is the breadwinner and they've got nothing going for them. Like they
have nowhere to go.
If their husband died today, they would lose the house. Their kids would go
they
to
might
fucking
not
child,
have family,
protective custody.
They don't have friends.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, even on a small scale, and I think that's really the big one for me is that
people have power over other people sometimes.
But we also put ourselves in a position of giving someone power to control us. You know, it's like almost like in a sense, like even on a small scale, like between us, like I always tell you, like, baby, if you don't want to work, you know, I'm striving so hard so that you don't ever have to work. And I know in your mind, you're like, yeah, but still, it's not so much that I don't want to work. I also want to have the ability to take care of shit in the instant something happens to you. So it's like, I know that, and granted, that's because of our intentions. Like, my intentions are not to make enough money to control you,
I
but to
know.
make enough money so that you don't have to work anymore. And I get the intention is obviously the most important thing about that. But even on that aspect, it's like, yo, I don't want to give up my ability to be able to hold the reins as
Yeah,
well,
because
you
like
know?
even if you made enough to cover all the bills, all of my money can go to day to day stuff and just a savings account for us, like an emergency account where majority of my money that I make because I don't need it can just go straight into savings to plan help us plan for retirement or whatever the case is. Like there's a way to still have a balance there.
Yeah, and it's just again, it's like, you get into these relationships with people who don't necessarily have the right intentions. And I also just think too, like for Diddy, when like we spoke earlier, like when he was younger, he wasn't about that life. And I
And I
think,
never knew about his childhood or like where he came from or anything like that. So hearing that, I was just like, it all makes sense now.
well, it's weird because, when you hear that he wasn't really about that life and he wasn't like partying or drinking or, and he was this very ambitious person, it's like, at what point did the hunger for power or position, at one point did it get to, like at one point did he go, I don't give a fuck what I gotta do. I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a fuck who I gotta erase. I don't give a fuck about what I gotta do. Like, at what point did we throw the entire moral compass out
Well, I
and
think
stop and not do it? Because this is my thing, bro. I think anybody can you can reach any certain level and certain accolade with the right moves that don't necessarily involve having to allegedly unalive people or anything like that.
But I think this is where the psychological thing breaks down is we hear it all the time that your mind is such a powerful thing. What you feed it has power. So like what you're watching, the kind of music you listen to, the kind of people you're subjecting yourself to, the kind of positions you're putting yourself in, all of that molds and shapes who you ultimately end up becoming. And they were breaking it down on the documentary of like when he was a kid about his dad and the way his mom seemed to groom him by putting these big chinchilla jackets on him and making him have this certain appearance and the kind of shows that they were watching on TV of like gangsters and like all of that and the kind of people he ended up hanging out with and just certain things ultimately leading up to that point of when he was working under, I forget who it was, that guy in the music industry, but he ended ultimately taking over and being bigger than he was. Like he learned everything he could from him, but they were even saying like corrupt shit that that guy was doing that Diddy was involved in or that he watched happen, but he watched him get big and watched the kind of power that he had. So ultimately in Diddy's mind, he's probably like, that's who I need to be.
Yeah.
I need to be this so I can become this.
And I think too, it kind of touches on our last episode where we were kind of talking about like overfeeling and overthinking and, again, how feeding your brain and, doing certain things can ultimately lead you to, ultimately lead you into, a certain lifestyle. I think at one point it's like, it's like before you become this big criminal in a sense, it typically starts off somewhere small.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you might have been a kid, stole a couple packs of gum, got away with it. Cool. You get a little older, you might be a teenager, you got away with stealing some clothes. Cool. Then you get a little bit older, and it's like it starts to progress. Like when you become, I think when you become, a criminal or somebody who does bad things, I think there's a lot of little things that essentially lead up to the big stuff. Like you don't just wake up one day and you're like, yo, we could just erase a person. we could just unalive somebody. I have the power to do that. Nah, there's things that you've done up to that point that you've gotten away with, or have had people turn a blind eye to, that lead you to think that
You're just untouchable.
that you are untouchable and that you could get away with anything.
And I think mental health stuff too, like there's a lot of like schizophrenia and other things that cause people to do horrific things. Like we see it a lot in like older stuff like Ed Gein and, certain serial killers. Back then, mental health help wasn't as prevalent and parents weren't as obvious to like something's wrong with my child. I need to get this figured out or I need to take them to get help. And things like that can also lead to criminals forming and bad things happening.
I think especially too, and I mean, like I know this may not be like up your alley, but a lot of times too, like for the minority side of culture, like I will say, like, you know, the Caucasian side of culture is definitely more keen to that. Like they are more privy to mental health and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say to the point of excuse, because like sometimes some people be like, "Oh, well, he's just this and that's why he's fucking jumping off the fucking wall." Blah, blah, blah. Like sometimes it's to the point where they like almost justify it. Like, but for the minority side of shit, it's like, shit, me being Dominican, like I know that like mental health and like
It's not as talked
it's
about.
it's not as spoken about. B, it's looked at as like, I think too, like minority parents don't ever want to look at their kids and be like, you're not a normal kid. And I think that's really hard. I mean, and I think any parent, but I also feel
Yeah.
like when, like when Caucasian parents are looking at their kids, or, I've always felt like my white friends, their parents were very active on wanting to figure out what was wrong with them. And, like maybe it's this, let's change the diet. Maybe we got to take this. Oh, it's the red 40. Got to take, like, they're very look like trial and error and very wanting to figure it out, versus like I feel like with minority parents it was very much like, stop acting stupid, you come on, you don't know how to pay attention, come on, fucking focus. Like it was very much like there wasn't an excuse when it came to mental illness. So it's like I could only imagine Diddy growing up, even if he did have something wrong, let's say mentally, bro, that shit was probably overlooked, and again, something that was
Well,
ignored.
they said his mom beat the shit out of him
Supposedly,
a lot.
allegedly, she said she actually came out after the documentary was out and said that she wasn't that abusive,
Well,
and
he
that
had on
DK,
there.
she was DK working 3 jobs and all this extra
Well, they
shit.
had
So,
on there that they tried questioning her and she denied. She didn't want to
yeah,
do it.
she came out after
she
the
left
interview
no
and
statement.
said that that wasn't true and there was a lot of lies and But again, I'm just speaking from the aspect of like, bro, I know, especially now in today's time, seeing it, like, because now I see a lot of like minority run podcasts that speak on the mental well-being of Black men and Hispanic men, and I see that being pushed much harder now because of the fact that when we were younger, that wasn't a thing. There was no crying in baseball. Men weren't allowed to feel emotions. And it's like, also Diddy growing up without his pops, like there's just so much there that, again, we in today's time talk about how detrimental it can be to our young Black community or our young Hispanic male community. Like we see the detriment of not having a father in the household,
I
and
think
how
that's
much
across the board.
and how much that can like impact, somebody's upbringing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just sucks because, it is, and again, I'm not here trying to be empathetic towards Diddy's situation, but really I'm trying to be understanding of what led up to it.
Well,
And
yeah,
really,
because what's wrong is wrong, but at the same time, he is also still just a human. And somewhere along the way, he lost himself because not anybody in their right mind goes and does what he allegedly did.
again, I think it was the things that kind of led up to it, right? It was like, like for me, for example, like in the documentary, like that one that one event that he threw where like 9 people died at the event or some
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, even on a small scale, like I know he didn't kill those people, but it was
He
like,
watched people die.
but because but that was an event that you threw that you suffered no repercussions for,
Yeah.
right? Because and it's like, I don't want to say you got away with murder, but like in a sense, you got away with people getting unalived in an event that you threw, in something that you didn't, that you should have had more control over of. And I think like in a sense that could have been the start of it. It was like,
Well,
you
look at
know,
all what I like too is like 50 Cent pulled up almost every case that Diddy was involved in throughout the last however many years. He was like arrested for this, that, or the third.
or how
He
about
went
that
to court for this, that, or
the
the
one
third,
dude
and
that
it's
they
like he got
apparently
away with all
the
of
one
it.
dude that they apparently beat the shit out of, to the point, to like to the edge of death, like he was almost dead, and then they were gonna go to court, and then they settled outside of court. But that's, money can do a lot of
But it's
things,
like,
man.
again, growing up, I didn't know about all those cases. I didn't know all of that had happened. And it's like seeing it now and like all this, I'm like, yo, he's been getting away with shit for a really long fucking
Well, we
time.
also just didn't have the internet at that time either,
True.
so it's like, and
And I
even
didn't watch the news.
yeah,
So,
and again, it's like, how in tune can you be when we're not geographically in New York all the time, right? Because it's
yeah.
like, that's when we really would have known about a lot. We would see it in newspapers, we would see it as
Yeah,
headlining
that's true.
articles, things of that nature. So I think too, because we are in the time we're in today, we're able to connect a lot of things and previous cases and bring them and shed light onto them because of the fact that we have the internet and things of that nature. Um, but it's so heartbreaking to know that, again, that there's people in power who do shit like this, and allegedly, of course.
Especially people that really do have so much potential and you literally just throw it away because you're just so power hungry. Like, it's a really sad thing to see. Like, despite how wrong he is, it's really sad to see his downfall of like what he let himself become. Like, wrong is wrong, and like you deserve to do whatever time you need to do
Yes.
for what you did.
Yeah.
And I hope to God that everything, that all these pending cases are able to be investigated properly. They're not swayed by money, and the truth really does come out, and justice is served for the people that were really hurt in this situation.
At the very least, not only do you need to serve your time, but you need to be stripped of that level of authority that you have within the culture.
Like the girl Danity Kane, she had a witness to what happened to her. She didn't even know what happened to her. And even her reading the statement and the email of like the description, she could barely even read it because of how sad it made her to not even know that that happened or remember that that happened. But there was a witness that saw it in full detail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what comes from that? She had a witness. Does that not matter? Like, just because there's no other proof, it's just supposed to be like,
And
oh,
she
well.
doesn't even remember it. She's like, I must have somehow blocked this memory out of my brain because I don't even recall this.
Mm-hmm. It's so sad.
Yeah. And it just, it makes you think. It makes you think because you see, again, a very common theme with people. You know what I mean? You see this, like, I get in power and I just start doing some weird shit. And I just don't understand why that is a common theme, whether it's, freaking Bill Clinton being like, I did not have sexual relations with
All
that
over a
woman.
LimeWire.
Freaking R. Kelly fucking peeing on little girls, allegedly. And fucking, like a Bill Cosby, freaking people were calling him Pill Cosby or Trill Cosby because of the fact that he supposedly was.
Well, Dan Snyder, the Nickelodeon shit.
Yeah, dude. And even like, what was so crazy about that one was like his weird obsession with feet too. Like he had like a like bro, don't get me wrong, bro. I like some pretty toes. But I'm talking about this dude, like at one point, if you even remember, I don't know if you remember this, but at one point, even the Nickelodeon logo was a foot.
It was, but I also remember watching that documentary and them bringing up clips of like all the episodes that had to do with like children's feet. And like when I was younger watching these episodes, I didn't even think twice of it being
Because
weird.
you were just like, oh my God, feet are so ticklish.
Didn't even think twice, but now as an adult, knowing what I know and like really understanding what fetishes are and like all that,
Or even
I'm
just like not even just a foot fetish, but
that's
like
so
even just like the
gross.
sexual innuendos that were in some of the episodes. Like I remember the one with like Ariana Grande when she was really young, and then like something like squirted all over her or something.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if it was water or whatever it was, but she was like,
No,
oh my God.
it was like a white lotion or a white
Some
something.
shit, yeah. Like she, oh my God, I'm like so, oh, it got all over me. Like the way
Never registered in my brain once.
now I couldn't, now I can't unsee it though. Like
Yeah, now I'm like, huh, why were we able to watch? Why was this even able to be aired?
I mean, even in like cartoons and shit,
What
there were
the
so
fuck?
many like weird sexual innuendos in a lot of
And
cartoons. Like,
yeah.
dude, I even seen
Ren and
shit.
Stimpy.
Dude, even shit that was even more like that. Even was like a little tiny bit maybe before our time. Like I know it was like we were kids when it came out, like, or it was kids when it was still airing. But I mean, even like current
But now
shit,
I know why
like,
my mom was like, I don't want you watching that shit.
But even like current shit that we were watching as kids, Fairly Odd Parents, like there was a lot of weird shit going on. Like
It's crazy.
Ren and Stimpy, Rocco's Modern Life, Fairly Odd Parents. I mean, there was a ton of cartoons that had sexual innuendos. A lot of those shows that kids were involved in.
But now I understand like why my mom was very strict of like, I don't want you watching that. And now as a parent, there are things where I notice and I'm like, I don't want you watching that. Like your brain isn't even ready for all that. I know you don't understand what's happening, but like it's imprinting something on your brain that doesn't need to be imprinted right now.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just nutty. But again, before we before we send him home, I just want to let you guys know your voice always has power. Nobody and nothing should dictate how powerful your voice is, and no amount of money or anything like that should be the reason you stay silent.
It should not be
And
valued more than your own life.
yeah, we gotta stop. We gotta stop letting, we gotta stop allowing people to control us and putting ourselves in positions of silence and dependency.
And danger.
Because that's like the whole shit with Diddy shit is that like, control oftentimes can look a lot like dependency, which is exactly what happened with Cassie. It's like, I promised you this, and now your entire future is dependent on my ability to provide that for you. So now you're gonna do everything I fucking tell you to do, because if you don't, then you don't have a future.
And that's all she ever wanted was her music career.
That's it. And she had the opportunity. I loved her music, bro. Me and You is still a banger till this day.
It for sure
That was my
is.
nephew. Rest in peace to my nephew. But that was his favorite song as a baby.
It was a great song.
Like that song came on and he was crawling, bopping his head. Like that was his shit for real, for real. So yeah, man. Yeah, guys, don't let control and dependency dictate your ability to speak up for yourself. At the end of the day,
Or speak up for others.
only you got you the way you got you. Only you can protect you the way only you can protect you the way only you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Stand up for what's
nobody
right.
else got you the way you got you.
Yeah.
So you need to speak up for that for sure.
So are we ending it with
All
a
right,
conspiracy?
so here we go, guys. Now that we got through the entire emotional aspect of it, all right, babe.
I love conspiracies.
What is one conspiracy? Just one. What is one conspiracy theory about this entire case? Again, that you think is
and why? Right.
and most likely true, and why?
My biggest one is he 100% unalive Tupac and Biggie.
Allegedly.
And in the conspiracy that I believe. And I say that because there's been constant word about it since this trial started. But then reading Kim Porter, like some of Kim Porter's book and her specifically saying, like, I overheard heard phone conversations of him setting it up. Like, when we were watching that documentary and they were talking about at the studio, and I was like, oh my God, this is when he gets shot in the elevator. And I only knew that because of Kim Porter's book. So then hearing it in the documentary and like the actual whole outbringing of all that, I'm like, oh, like maybe that really did happen, because not only did Kim Porter talk about it heavily in her book, and her book was specifically to, she created that and gave it to, I think, a friend or a publicist, and said to not do it, like not publish it until something with him happens. And then the book got dropped. And there was apparently another book by somebody else, like a man, I forget who, but he also talked about it in his book. And now with this documentary and how everything played out, I'm like, you're looking very suspect, my friend.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing I want to point out about the documentary, too, is it's not like these people that were getting interviewed are just random-ass people. Like, these are people that have had pictures with Diddy, have history with Diddy.
They worked with him.
They were around Diddy. So it's like, bro,
The
we not just pulling the random, because here's the thing. It's one thing to interview, like, 50 women who just are, like,
random women
who are
that
like,
just got involved.
Diddy rapes me, right? Like, that's one thing, right? Like, but we're talking about people whose names have been on paperwork, like the guy who had a portion of Bad Boy before Diddy convinced him to sign off his shit.
That's
like,
so fucked.
Like, these are people who were working in the industry
and
with him.
They were wrongfully done. Like, wrong shit was done to them. So, like, it also gave them a reason to want to speak out, because it's like, bro, you fucked me over on so much.
Bro, the funniest one, though, I'm not going to lie, the one that kind of made me laugh a little was the one dude in the documentary who produced the Love album for Diddy. And was like, man, there was times I was waking up.
Little Rod.
Yeah, Lil Rod. He'd be like, bro, I'll be waking up.
Lil Leroy.
Yeah, Lil Leroy. So it's so
why
fun.
would you let a grown man just call you that? Like, bro, that's not my name.
Yeah, so so it was so funny, the one part where he's like, bro, there's times I was waking up and I'd be waking up next to women, or sometimes I'd be waking up next to Diddy.
I'm like, you didn't think that was weird at all?
And then he was like, I'd be sore as fuck.
Yeah, like, what'd you think happened, bro?
You waking up next to another grown-ass man sore?
I would have freaked
That
the
sounds
fuck
like
out.
something, that sounds like only a story you would tell in prison.
His story was the craziest for me. Like, I get he promised you all this money, and I get you wanted your money, but, like, at what point do you let your moral compass be like...
Yeah, but it wasn't a matter of... That's the thing. Diddy didn't promise him a lot of money. I think he said something about Diddy was supposed to pay him like $10,000 to produce the whole album, or like 8 racks or something. So it wasn't necessarily.
And it was the exposure of working with him.
It was the experience. It was the experience for his, basically for his resume.
Yeah.
That really propelled him into being, you know. That's really what it was for. It's like taking a shitty intern job, because you know that the experience that you're going to get from being that intern is going to help you in your career path.
But even him saying, like, Diddy, some other guy, and Justin going into the bathroom, and then the other guy not coming out, and then going in and seeing that this guy was shot. And, like, granted, he called the cops and all of this shit, but, like, how the hell did Diddy just walk away from that? He's like, he had a guy and he just sent the guy out, and then next thing you know, everybody's going home and nobody's in trouble, and it's just whatever. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, man, which, you know, again, like, that level of power is crazy. The conspiracy theory that I believe to be true, in my personal opinion, is him unaliving Biggie and Tupac, not just Tupac.
So yours is the same.
Yeah, I definitely, because my thing is, and it kind of coincides with Diddy's mentality of wanting to be the star. Diddy never wanted, that's the thing, people don't understand. Diddy never wanted to just be the biggest label owner, right? Yeah, he got that. He wanted to be the biggest in everything that he touched. So Diddy was working for a guy who was the biggest at the time, and he had the biggest rappers in hip hop at the time signed to him. Diddy wanted that spot. So
well, didn't that guy let him take Biggie with him to start his own label?
Well, that was the whole cutoff was that like, yo, we're gonna you're fired. We're gonna part ways, and you can take Biggie with you.
Because Diddy's the one that found Biggie, technically,
And
right?
that Biggie was supposed to be signed to that label that
Yeah.
he worked for, that Diddy worked for at the time, and Diddy was supposed to just be like the point of contact for Biggie, was to be almost like Biggie's manager, if you will. But at least that's how I think it went down. But it was like Diddy, you could see that anytime he met somebody in a position of power, it wasn't. It was like Diddy would see that and Diddy would want that. Like
Yeah.
Diddy would see
It's
you
competition.
yeah, Diddy again. He worked for this guy who was like he was the biggest label owner at the time, especially for hip hop, because he had like all the big hip hop names were at the time, like the big names in the late 80s and early 90s were signed to this guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy wanted that. So what did Diddy do? Diddy starts Bad Boy. Diddy now has the biggest names in hip hop signed to him. Biggie, Faith Evans, fucking who else? Mary J. Blige. He had so many people under that Bad Boy window, and it was like was killing it. Boom. But then it's like, okay,
And the West
yeah,
Coast had Tupac.
and it was like, okay, cool. It's dope that I put this all together, and that I've got all these artists together, but they the face. I don't like that shit.
Well,
I
that's
want to
why
be the
he
face.
was in all their music videos, and like
And
he
that's
inserted himself into
everybody.
everything.
Yeah, even to the point where Suge Knight made fun of it. Like, yo, if you don't want your label execs dancing around in your fucking music videos, come sign to Death Row Records. So it was like,
That's what started a lot of it too.
what's crazy is just like, again, you can see at every point where Diddy takes that turn to no longer wanting to be the backup guy. Like Diddy works for a label that has all these big artists, and that guy who's running the label is the one that's getting all the love. So Diddy's like, okay, I want to be that. Okay, so then Diddy becomes that, starts Bad Boy, has all these artists under him, and then it's like, yo, but now I'm realizing that these motherfuckers are the ones that are doing all the autographs and getting their pictures taken.
like I'm not known.
I'm not the one that's getting the shine. If anything, I'm the one putting the spotlight on these motherfuckers. You know what? I want the spotlight on me.
I need to be
And
a
how did that
feature.
transition start? It's either I need to be featured on a song, I need to be in a music video, I need to be doing ad libs, I need to be doing intro. Sometimes Diddy wasn't even on the song. He would just be like, yeah.
Well, and then it
Bad
was
Boy.
funny because he started his own records, and then somebody even spoke on it. It was just like he's not even that good.
Well, that's the funny part is that, like Diddy wasn't an artist. Diddy had people writing for him and all this extra shit. But it's, again, you can see the transition of I'm in the background and this guy's big. I want to be this guy. Then he becomes this guy and then realizes, I don't want to be the head of the label. I want to own the label, but I also want to be the face of the music side shit as well, because the music artists are the ones that are getting all the exposure. We're just the ones that are giving them the platform and the funding. So then Diddy transitions into, I'm not just going to be a regular label exec. I'm going to be a label exec that got face too. Like, when y'all think Bad Boy, y'all going to think Diddy. I'm tired of y'all thinking Bad Boy and thinking Biggie and thinking Mary J. Blige.
Like,
and
this is
thinking
my
Faith.
shit.
This is my shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you could see the transition from time to time with everything that he did, because it was like, again, it's like you see it happening, boom, 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 right? One after another, one after another, one after another. And it was like,
I think it was sad because Biggie and Pac were friends at first. Like they actually had a
that's
friendship.
That's because Tupac's from New York.
And I'm pretty sure in Kim Porter's book, she even said that when that whole shooting in the elevator thing happened, Diddy tried to spin the story to make it seem like Biggie put out the hit to start rap beef and like this whole thing or something along those lines. And that's what started the feud between them to begin
the
with.
Shit where it was like, even the part where it was like Diddy or Biggie apparently didn't even want to beef with Tupac. Like,
yeah.
And Diddy was the one that was like, nah, you got to say something. You got to say something. You got to respond. Again, just like promoting the beef.
He created this whole narrative to cause problems.
Yeah. And it just sucks. It just ties in to show you that, Diddy was ahead of his time in a sense, marketing wise, because we know now in today's time on social media, clickbait is such a big thing and how they push like negative stories. Like
Yeah.
World Star made a living off
Off
of
of-
pushing negative shit, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, it just goes to show you that, like, you know, from a business standpoint, he did exactly, it worked. What he did worked, allegedly. So, you know, yeah, that's one of the conspiracy theories I definitely believe in. Not just the Tupac side, but the Biggie one too. Because again,
Yeah.
Diddy wanted. Because look, Biggie supposedly had that Rolling Stones cover coming up.
And somehow Diddy ended up with it.
Biggie dies. Then
Did
hold
he,
up.
Did he put on that crazy performance at the VMAs or the Grammys
Diddy
or whatever
puts
the
on
fuck
this
he
act.
was doing?
Diddy puts on this act and throws this big funeral for Biggie and made Biggie pay for it. Allegedly.
So fucked.
So yeah, these are the things that that's definitely one of the things that I believe in as well.
And then the day he dies is Biggie Day, and then you guys are just celebrating all the time, every year on that date.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts, man. But yeah, that's definitely the one that I believe in for sure. All right, guys. Well, before we send you guys home, we want to leave you guys with a question, as always. And the question is, what conspiracy theory involving Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean
Diddler.
Combs, the Diddler, whatever you want to call him.
Crazy.
What conspiracy theory
do
you believe in about Mr. Bad Boy himself? Drop it in the comments below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on the socials. I would say, because again, you never know when the why in your story is silent, but I don't think that applies to this one.
I mean, it kind of does. A lot of people go with unspoken things because they don't
but this
know
is about
how to...
Diddy. We're not talking about y'all personal things. We talking about
true.
what conspiracy theory do y'all believe that Diddy did? We don't want his story to become our story
Yeah, we're
in
gonna
any
leave,
way,
we're
shape,
gonna
or
leave
form.
that one out of this episode.
So we'll leave that closing quip out of this one. But again, drop it in the comments below. Other than that, guys, keep feeling,
keep sharing,
and keep it real within the feels.